The rain-soaked streets of the city glistened under flickering streetlights as Dr. Marcus Cole gripped the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles pale against the dark leather. The dashboard clock read 2:17 a.m. Every second felt heavier than the last. His phone buzzed again. Massive internal bleeding, middle-aged female, ETA unknown, Nurse Sophia Ramirez had said minutes earlier, her voice strained. "Marcus, if you don't get here in the next 10 minutes, we might lose her." Marcus didn't reply. He didn't need to. His foot pressed harder on the accelerator. He had spent his entire life outrunning clocks, growing up in a cramped apartment, watching his mother choose between rent and groceries, studying under flickering lights while others slept. Time had always been his enemy. Tonight it was worse. Tonight time was armed. The city blurred past him. Red light, green light, sirenless, unmarked but fast. Then blue and red lights exploded in his rearview mirror. Marcus exhaled sharply. "No, not now." He slowed, pulling over beneath an overpass. Rain drummed against the roof like impatient fingers. Two officers stepped out. Officer Daniel Brooks approached first, broad shoulders, tight jaw, eyes already suspicious. Beside him, Officer Ethan Miller, younger, quieter, scanned the car with uncertainty. "License and registration," Brooks demanded. Marcus handed them over, already unbuckling his seatbelt. "Officer, I'm a trauma surgeon. I'm on my way to the hospital. A woman is bleeding out on the operating table." Brooks glanced at the license, then at Marcus. His expression hardened. "Step out of the vehicle." "What?" Marcus blinked. "No, you don't understand." "Out now." Miller shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, maybe we can." Brooks cut him off. "Protocol." Marcus stepped into the cold rain. His heart pounded, not from fear but from frustration, from knowing how this would go. "I was speeding because someone's life is on the line," Marcus said calmly. "Call the hospital. Ask for Dr. Cole." Brooks smirked faintly. "Funny, everyone's got an excuse at this hour." Inside the hospital, Nurse Sophia Ramirez paced outside operating room 3. Machines beeped in uneven rhythms. The woman on the table, Emily Hale, lay unconscious, her skin pale, lips trembling with shallow breaths. "Where is he?" Sophia whispered. Across town, Marcus felt metal close around his wrists. "So this is completely unnecessary," Miller muttered as he clicked the cuffs. Marcus looked at him. "If she dies, you'll remember this sound forever." Miller froze. "Put him in the car," Brooks ordered. As Marcus was pushed into the back seat, his phone slipped from his pocket, sliding across wet concrete. The screen lit up, missed call, ER. Back at the hospital, Dr. Alan Whitmore checked his watch, irritation masking panic. "If Cole doesn't arrive in 5 minutes, prep for secondary protocol." Sophia swallowed. "He's never late." In a quiet office miles away, Chief Robert Hale sat reviewing paperwork, unaware that his wife's heartbeat echoed through sterile halls, slowing. Under the overpass, rain washed over the city as a clock kept ticking. And no one yet knew the cruel irony unfolding. The police cruiser cut through the rain-soaked streets, its siren muted, its urgency non-existent. Inside the back seat, Dr. Marcus Cole sat upright, wrists aching against the cold steel of the cuffs. He counted his breaths, not to calm himself, but to keep time. Every inhale was a second stolen from someone else. "Officer," Marcus said, breaking the silence, "at least let me make one call." Officer Daniel Brooks didn't even turn around. "You had your chance." Officer Ethan Miller glanced at the rearview mirror. Marcus met his eyes, steady, unblinking. "She's not just a patient," Marcus continued, his voice low but firm. "She's a person with a family. Someone is waiting for her to wake up." Miller swallowed. "Sarge, maybe we should verify. It won't take long." Brooks scoffed. "And if he's lying, you want that on your record." Miller fell quiet. The car kept moving. At St. Anne's Medical Center, fluorescent lights hummed as Nurse Sophia Ramirez scrubbed her hands raw, again and again, as if cleanliness could replace absence. "BP's dropping," another nurse called out. Dr. Alan Whitmore stood stiffly near the monitors. "Prep blood transfusion. If Cole isn't here in 2 minutes, I'm calling it." Sophia's eyes burned. "You know he's the only one who's done this procedure successfully in the last year." Whitmore hesitated. Politics warred with medicine inside him, and if he doesn't show, we move on. The machines beeped faster. On the operating table, Emily Hale stirred faintly, her fingers twitching. A whisper escaped her lips, so soft no one heard it. The cruiser stopped at a red light. Marcus leaned forward despite the cuffs. You ever seen someone die because you were 5 minutes late? Miller's jaw tightened. Memories he didn't want surfaced. His father in a hospital bed, doctors shaking their heads. Brooks snapped, enough. The light turned green. Across the city, Chief Robert Hale stood by his office window, phone pressed to his ear. No updates, he asked. Static, then a nurse's strained voice. Sir, your wife is in critical condition. We're waiting on a specialist. Hale closed his eyes. Do whatever it takes. He hung up, unaware of the echoing irony racing through the city streets. In a police cruiser, he commanded. Back in the car, Marcus felt his phone vibrating against the floor near his feet, calls piling up, unanswered. He stared at it like a lifeline just out of reach. Officer Miller, Marcus said quietly, if you do nothing, this becomes your decision too. Miller's hands tightened on his knees. The cruiser finally pulled into the precinct lot. Out, Brooks ordered. Marcus stepped into the rain again. The station loomed, concrete, unforgiving. As Brooks led him toward the entrance, Miller lagged behind, torn. Inside the hospital, alarms blared. She's crashing, Sophia shouted. Whitmore cursed under his breath, start compressions. Emily Hale's heart stuttered, then slowed. At the precinct desk, Brooks filled out paperwork with deliberate slowness. Marcus watched the clock on the wall, 2:41 a.m. Too much time had already died. Suddenly, the station phone rang. Brooks picked it up, annoyed. Yeah. His expression shifted, just slightly. Yes, Chief, yes, sir. Marcus felt it before he heard it, the air changing. Brooks slowly turned around. The patient, Brooks said carefully, what's her name? Marcus hesitated, then answered, Emily Hale. Silence. Miller's head snapped up. Brooks' face drained of color. Chief Hale, Miller whispered. The phone slipped from Brooks' hand, clattering onto the desk. Outside, thunder rolled. Inside the hospital, Emily Hale's heart flatlined. The sound of the phone hitting the desk echoed, longer than it should have. For a moment, no one moved. Officer Daniel Brooks stared at the name written on the intake form, as if it might rearrange itself into something less damning. Emily Hale. The letters felt heavier now, soaked in meaning. You said Hale, Brooks whispered. Dr. Marcus Cole nodded once. Her husband is Chief Robert Hale. Officer Ethan Miller felt his stomach drop. His mind replayed every second on the road, the red light, the silence, the choice to stay quiet. Brooks straightened, panic creeping into his voice. Why didn't you say that earlier? Marcus laughed bitterly. Would it have mattered if she wasn't someone important? The question hung in the air like smoke. At St. Anne's Medical Center, chaos had given way to a cold, clinical stillness. The flatline echoed, then stopped. Nurse Sophia Ramirez lowered her hands slowly. Her shoulders trembled. Time of death, 2:43 a.m. Dr. Alan Whitmore removed his gloves, his face ashen. Document everything. Sophia turned on him. Everything, or only what protects us. Whitmore said nothing. The precinct doors burst open. Chief Robert Hale strode in, rain clinging to his coat, eyes wild with desperation. Every officer in the room snapped to attention, except Brooks, who stood frozen. Where is he? Hale demanded. Brooks pointed. Marcus stood calmly, hands still cuffed, clothes damp, face unreadable. Hale stormed toward him. You're the surgeon. Yes. My wife is dying, Hale said, his voice cracking. Why weren't you there? Marcus met his eyes, no anger, no fear, only truth. Because your officers detained me. The room seemed to tilt. Miller took an involuntary step back. Hale slowly turned toward Brooks. Is that true? Brooks opened his mouth, closed it, sweat beaded on his forehead. We followed procedure, sir. Procedure, Marcus repeated softly, while a woman bled out. Hale's phone rang. He answered it with shaking hands. Yes. A pause. Then his knees buckled. Miller rushed forward, catching him as Hale's breath shattered into sobs. "She's gone," Hale whispered. "Emily's gone." Silence consumed the station. Later, in an interrogation room, Marcus sat alone. The cuffs were gone now. No one met his eyes when they passed. Detective Laura Finch entered quietly, setting a recorder on the table. "I'm internal affairs," she said, "and I want the truth." Marcus leaned back, exhausted, then listened carefully. Across the hall, Hale stood staring at a framed photo of himself and Emily, laughing, alive. Power had never felt so useless. Miller approached him hesitantly. "Chief, I should have spoken up." Hale didn't turn. "Yes," he said hollowly, "you should have." Miller swallowed hard. "What happens now?" Hale finally faced him, eyes red, voice steady but broken. "Now the badge answers for itself." In the interrogation room, Laura Finch clicked off the recorder. "This doesn't end quietly," she said. Marcus nodded. "It never does." Outside, dawn began to creep into the city, light revealing what darkness had allowed. And for the first time, Power was afraid. Morning light poured into St. Anne's Medical Center, revealing stains no one had bothered to clean. Blood, sweat, fingerprints, evidence of a night the city would soon pretend never happened. Dr. Marcus Cole stood by a window in the surgeon's lounge, staring at the skyline. He hadn't slept. Every reflection in the glass reminded him of a life he could have saved, and a system that decided he didn't matter. "You're being cleared," Detective Laura Finch said from behind him. Marcus didn't turn. "Cleared doesn't bring her back." Laura sighed. "No, but it changes what happens next." Downstairs, cameras lined the hospital entrance. Reporters murmured, sensing blood in the water. Inside a conference room, Chief Robert Hale sat at the head of the table, hollow-eyed, flanked by senior officials. His uniform felt heavier than ever. "Internal Affairs will release a preliminary statement," an aide said carefully. "We recommend minimal disclosure." Hale looked up slowly. Minimal truth is still a lie. The room went still. "My wife died because Power assumed it couldn't be wrong," Hale continued, "and because a man was judged before he was heard." No one spoke. "I want full transparency," Hale said. "All footage, all reports." An official protested. "Sir, this could destroy careers." Hale's voice broke. "It already destroyed my family." In a quiet hallway, Officer Daniel Brooks sat alone, head in his hands, the weight of every choice pressed down on him now. Miller approached cautiously. "IA wants to talk." Brooks let out a humorless laugh. "They don't want to talk, they want to bury me." "You buried yourself," Miller said softly. Brooks looked up, eyes bloodshot. "And you knew something was wrong." Miller nodded. "And I'll live with that." The press conference exploded by noon. "This is not about one mistake," Hale told the cameras. "It is about a culture that forgets humanity when authority feels threatened." A reporter shouted, "Are you saying racism played a role?" Hale paused. Every eye was on him. "Yes," he said, "I am." The city gasped. At home, Marcus watched the broadcast in silence. His phone buzzed, messages of support, of anger, of disbelief. Then another message appeared. "Unknown number, you did nothing wrong, I saw the footage." Marcus frowned. Moments later, Laura Finch called. "We found something," she said. Dashcam audio Brooks tried to delete. In the interrogation room, Brooks listened as his own voice echoed back at him, dismissive, mocking, cruel. "This guy's lying, they always are." Brooks' face collapsed. Laura leaned forward. "This goes beyond negligence." That evening, Marcus returned to the OR, not to operate, but to stand where Emily Hale had died. He placed a gloved hand on the table, closing his eyes. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Behind him, Sophia watched, tears streaming. "You were never the problem." Marcus opened his eyes, resolve hardening. "Then I won't be silent anymore." Outside, sirens wailed, not in urgency, but in reckoning. The courtroom was silent, in a way that felt heavier than noise. Dr. Marcus Cole sat in the witness chair, hands folded, spine straight. Sunlight filtered through tall windows, illuminating dust in the air, tiny particles floating like moments that could never be undone. Dr. Cole, the attorney asked gently, if you had arrived at the hospital on time, would Emily Hale have survived? Marcus swallowed. This was the question that haunted every breath. Yes, he said, with overwhelming probability. A murmur rippled through the room. Across the aisle, Officer Daniel Brooks stared at the floor. His uniform was gone, so was the certainty that once wrapped around him like armor. Dashcam footage played on a large screen, his voice, cold and dismissive, echoing through the chamber. Every word landed like a blow. The judge removed his glasses slowly. This court finds Officer Daniel Brooks guilty of criminal negligence and misconduct. Brooks closed his eyes. Outside, cameras flashed as Chief Robert Hale stepped forward, no longer shielded by rank. He addressed the city not as a commander, but as a broken husband. My wife believed in fairness, Hale said, voice steady but hollow, so I will honor her by ensuring this never happens again. He paused, then looked directly at Marcus. I failed you, Hale said publicly, and I am sorry. Marcus met his gaze. Apologies don't heal wounds, he replied quietly, but accountability can prevent new ones. Hale nodded, that was enough. Weeks later, the city felt different. Mandatory bias training, policy reforms, body cam accountability laws, names changed on doors, systems adjusted, not perfectly but consciously. Officer Ethan Miller submitted a formal statement that contradicted his earlier silence. It cost him promotions, but saved his conscience. You did the right thing, Marcus told him one evening outside the hospital. Miller exhaled, I just wish I'd done it sooner. Inside St. Anne's Medical Center, a new plaque was unveiled near the trauma wing. In memory of Emily Hale. A life that changed lives. Sophia stood beside Marcus as the cloth was pulled away. She would have liked you, Sophia said softly. Marcus nodded, I hope so. That night Marcus returned to the OR, not as a shadow of guilt, but as himself. Another patient waited, another life balanced on seconds. As he scrubbed in, he caught his reflection, still tired, still human, but no longer invisible. The clock ticked. This time no one stopped him. And somewhere beyond walls of power and prejudice, a lesson remained. A life is not valuable because of who it belongs to, but because it is a life at all.